dozens of homes lost, communities devastated, and scores of dangerous fires burning through the night.
3 bushfires burning north of Sydney have joined to create what's been dubbed a mega blaze.
Dubbed this mega blaze
a ring of fires.
This mega blaze.
A mega inferno.
Giant inferno.
People are tonight in the path of the mega fire, making conditions for firefighters even more chaotic.
It was an eye-opening experience to see the scale of the fires in all around Sydney. That was just massive, and the resources needed to do that were just amazing. It was, I think, probably the biggest commitment we've had for a while.
So the New South Wales Rural Fire Service was essentially born by a number of farmers that came together to protect their properties in the southern part of the state, down near Berrigan. Over the years, local government or our councils were responsible for brigades. And then after the 1994 fires, which devastated large parts of the state, including Sydney, there was a coronial inquest that recommended that an agency be formed. So it's a relatively young agency, having only been formally created in 1997, but our brigades have been operating for well over 100 years, protecting the community.
It was a reaction to the expansion of residences and people into urban areas, and then having a feeling to need fire support when there are fires around. And the brigade from the 1930s, but then progressively through to the 40s and 50s, as Sydney and regional urban areas expanded, there was a stronger need for urban protection and rural protection. And the brigade sort of grew up, and you would find brigades in villages would take on a responsibility of a community-based fire service to look after their own interests in the streets.
It's around about 70,000 volunteers around New South Wales. 90% of us are volunteers. There is obviously a management layer, which is the paid staff, and they're based in district offices and area command offices, and also back at home, which in the head office down there. And the paid staff work to help the volunteers to get out and fight. So they look after all the bits and pieces. So as an agency, the Rural Fire Service, we are involved in obviously fire activities, so bushfire activities, structure fires, motor vehicle fires, that sort of thing. We're involved in very strong community engagement, so we work very closely with our communities, helping them to understand their risk and to have plans in place for what they might need to do should a fire event happen in the local area.
David 1, David 1, all the news right there. Yeah, David 1, go ahead. Yeah, just stand by. Yeah, we're right behind you.
So leading into the 2019-20 fire season, we went into that season with record drought. So we already knew that fuel conditions were very dry. We were already experiencing hot and warm temperatures, and the Bureau of Meteorology forecast that would continue right through summer. So we undertook a number of preparations and planning leading into that season. July is when we started seeing fire activity, which is unusually early for that time of year. And then as the season went on, that progressed. So right through the 2019-20 season, we saw over 11,500 bush and grass fires across the state. We saw 59 days of total fire ban, 5.5 million hectares of the state, which is about 7% of the state, was fire affected. So between July and right through to the end of February, we saw activity which our volunteer firefighters and our partner agencies responded through for those months. So it was quite a significant and challenging period for everyone involved.
We were operating from September 2019 through to the 10th of February 2020. We ran around about 418 shifts out of here over that time. Just about every day we had a truck or both trucks out. We were being used as part of strike teams, and those strike teams were being used to provide, it was surge capacity, if that makes sense. you've got a fire in a local area, you've got a brigade like this, and there's a small network of brigades in the district. But when they're getting hit with a significant fire event such as we had, they get fatigued, they get run down, they need to have a break. And so we would come in and take over from them and give them that opportunity to go home, wash their uniforms, have a decent feed, get a decent night's sleep. And we deploy for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days either as firefighters on the trucks here or in other roles as well. So we had people running strike teams, which is a combination of about 6 trucks, and you have a strike team leader. We had aviation specialists, we had communication specialists, we had people sitting at some of the older members were involved in the helplines, and they were basically people answering the phones and just helping out. So everybody stepped up, and it was a massive, massive achievement. Probably the busiest protracted period this brigade has ever seen. So.
My time here at the RFS, probably the most memorable or challenging, and not for any good reason, was New Year's Eve during the 2019-20 fire season. We saw fire activity occur in the early hours of the morning at 1 a.m. when we typically don't see fire activity. Overnight the temperatures cool and we see conditions become relatively benign. But on that particular night, we've seen fire activity affect parts of the state down on the south coast like we've never seen before. So that period on the early hours was certainly challenging. We're unable to use aircraft at that time of night, obviously, because we weren't equipped to do that at the time, and the conditions, the wind that was occurring as well. So it was a particularly challenging time during that New Year period. But we came together. The volunteer firefighters did an extraordinary job in what they did, and obviously the community continues to recover from what happened.
19th of December 2019, we were out at Mount Irvine, and we had a very quiet day, and we were driving back out, and the conditions had changed dramatically. It was quite a dynamic environment, we'll call it that. And we were driving out, and there's trees falling down, and it was quite a risky enterprise getting out of where we needed to be. As we came back to Barrow, as we turned up into Barrow Waters Road here, the commissioner, who changed Fitzsimmons at the time, he basically came screaming out of Barrow Waters Road. The car was almost sideways going around the intersection there, and he was driving off down to head office, because that was the night that unfortunately two firefighters were killed down the Horsley Park. Horsley Park firefighters were killed, and that kind of really put when you're in a management leadership position, it made you stop and really take stock of the importance of appreciating the team that you're with, the crew that you're with, and obviously making sure that everybody gets home safely.
So after the 2019-20 season, there was an independent state bushfire inquiry, which was headed by a former Police Deputy Commissioner, Dave Owens, and the former Chief Scientist, Mary O'Kane, who took a review of what happened during that season, including the preparation and the response to the fires. They issued a report which had 76 recommendations. All of those recommendations were accepted by the state government. The New South Wales Rural Fire Service is responsible for 34, directly responsible for 34 of those recommendations, which we're working through now. So they look at both fire appliance design, nighttime aerial firefighting. There's a wide range of recommendations that came out of that are currently being actioned to better inform and better equip our firefighters out in the field. Look, a lot of work's been done to analyse what happened to that season, where ways in which we can improve our responses and better equip our firefighters. So we continue on that work, which I'm sure will likely go ahead for several years to come.
I guess growing up as St Ives in the community, it was just be part of the street, and as growing up, I can get on the truck now, I've made it, to be part of the local brigade, and then it sort of grew on you. And then, as I said, you get pride in the ownership of it, and progressively you've grown through the system with it.
It's commitment to the community. It's setting an example for my family. So my kids, they grew up when when I first joined the brigades, my kids were smaller than that tyre. They could stand underneath the front of the truck. They were tiny. Now they're 14, 15 years of age, and my son's now talking about joining when he can. So it's setting that sort of example. It's about working with people. It's about getting the best out of people. It's about providing them with that opportunity to do something different, as I talked about. It's at the end of the day, I'm a guy that likes. Who doesn't like a fire truck?